Welcome. Let's get started with some daily activity for our shoulders. We're going to go with about 5 to 10 minutes here, starting with an alternating overhead reach. Real simply, reaching one arm up. I'm also going to have you reach the other arm back. Up and overhead with one arm, down and back with the other. We're going to hold that for a brief pause at the end of the range of motion where you're feeling a light stretch and a light activity in those shoulders, or a light squeeze in those shoulders. We're doing this for 1 minute. And if you would like to challenge something else, get your brain moving and working a little bit, I like to put folks in my staggered stance. Staggered stance just gives us a little bit more to think about. Maybe you don't have to think about it. Maybe it's easy for you. Maybe it's not. Either way, keep your knees soft, your core engaged, your pelvis engaged in a nice neutral position as you're going through these alternating overhead reaches. And you're holding nice and easy in those squeezes. We're probably about a minute in. Let's do one more on each side. And then we're going to go out to the side. Let's switch your stance up if you've staggered it like I have. Into a T. And we're going to do little baby arm circles. These arm circles aren't just arm circles though. These are shoulder complex circles. So I want your whole shoulder, even your collarbone and your shoulder blade, to be active in these circles. Whatever direction you're spinning your hands is fine. If your forward is a different forward than mine, no problem. We're doing this one for about 30 seconds with our palms down, which is right about now. We'll flip those palms over and go 30 seconds in the opposite direction of your circle here. If there were a most important part of this exercise, it's going to be the back side of that 360 degrees. That squeeze through your shoulder blades. Our goal with this recommended daily activity is to activate neuromuscularly and enhance blood flow and oxygen delivery, to be dynamic in a slight stretch and loosen as well as tighten. We're going into what we call an aptly stretch, or it's an aptly stretch test. You may be familiar with it. Now, not everyone can do this, so you may just start touching the head and touching the bun. Head and hip, or you're going to go into a full aptly stretch. And if you're like me, you're sore or you're tight and you need to work on flexibility, your fingers don't quite overlap. If you're nice and loose and mobile, you may be able to pass with flying colors. The aptly stretch is a standardized test in fitness and mobility. You can see my body's really sore and tight today because I'm reaching even with my head as I do this. So stop any of your body's compensation and cheating the best that you can. Keep good tight core muscles, soft in your knees, strong in your hips and your back. Continuing here. And if you have a dominant hand, expect that that dominant hand's much tighter, like my right one right now, as you reach around the backside. It's probably about a minute there for the aptly stretch. Now we're going to W rotations. W rotations may need a modification. Let's do this from our postural position. Heels under the hips, soft knees, strong hips, strong buns and core muscles. The modification may need to be down here. An internal and external rotation of your shoulder, depending on your health history, may not fare well with a flared elbow. We should start to work toward it, so maybe it's more like a W in this case. I use the field goal if I can, but if I can't, I'm going to bring elbows a little lower. Just rotating internally and externally as far as you can. Not trying to push this one too far. Any of these, or none of these, are we really trying to create any kind of compression, pain, pinching. We're just going through that range of motion as light as we need to. By this time, those shoulders should be talking to you. Should be starting to say that they're activating. They're getting a little tired. Last one. And now we've given those shoulders much needed strengthening and good neural activation, blood flow and oxygen as I mentioned, restoring some tension balance through the muscles. Now we're going to go into a nice stretch. Warm those muscles up a little bit, and now we're going to lengthen them. So we're taking our fingers, interlocking them, pushing those hands toward the floor. You're going to open your palms toward the ceiling and extend those elbows down. This should do what I normally would tell you not to do, just roll your shoulders. Rolling those shoulders forward, we're going to enhance a stretch in our upper neck and shoulder, our upper back and shoulder, and then through the neck by tucking that chin in and elongating like our standing posture. We're going to get a big old stretch right through the base of that neck into the shoulder, into the top of the shoulder blade. Hold there. And breathe. Breathe in deep, nice and slow and steady. You can close your eyes if you feel good with that. If that makes you unstable, you don't have to. Just enough time to feel that stretch lengthen out. And then we're going to do the same thing if we can behind our back. If we cannot, then we're just going to bring our hands to our hips. We're going to cinch our shoulder blades down and back. Maybe easier said than done. May not feel very familiar for you. If it doesn't, that's what the ready method is for. Go find out how to get familiar with your shoulder blades. Otherwise, if you can, and you have the big range of motion and capability and no health history or pain with that position, going from your butt to your interlocking of your fingers to extending the elbows, then we're in that full position in the backside. From here, we're cinching those shoulder blades down and breathing. It's maybe quite a bit of a stretch if it's your first time. No shame in just starting with a good shoulder blade position and breathing, because we're opening up the top of that chest, especially right in front of the armpit, all the way across the chest here in that position. Even the hands on the booty position, that's fine. Okay, we're going to go back to the front again, and we're going to get a little bit of neck movement involved. Don't overdo this. Always be respectful of your neck. And just go into what you feel you can do. With that forward reach, we're going to tuck the chin in toward the collarbones and the sternum. Nice and tight, trying to bring that chin in rather than down. And we're going to tilt the head back. Move toward the ceiling, only in a range of motion that's good for you. Hold it there, nice and slow. Come back to neutral. We're going to do a rotation now. Rotate lightly. Do not force it. It's just a light addition to that first stretch that we got in the shoulders and through the neck. Same thing other side. You can hold these for 5 to 10 seconds. You could hold them for longer if you wanted, but you'd probably start getting tired. Now we're going to laterally tilt, and this is about relaxing, not overdoing it here. Lateral tilt. Oh boy. When you laterally tilt, keep that nose in front of you, oriented directly ahead. Don't rotate and tilt. It may be very subtle, your lateral tilt. So we'll take it right down into the shoulder, and other side. You can repeat all of that on the back side. It doesn't have to be too much of a stretch, but this one is the one that you want to start developing even more. So we tuck the chin in. Hold it for 3 to 4 seconds, 4 to 5 seconds. Minimally, I would say, it makes you want to straighten up your toes when you look down at them, right? Soften those knees, maintain. As you tilt your head up, your standing posture very well. Big old stretch with that head tilt up across the neck into the chest. Very important to loosen that area up. Then we can do our rotations. Rotate to the other side. midline and lateral tilt or lateral flexion. Oh boy. Some stiff muscles in that lateral side. If you have neck health history of injury or with injuries, you're going to really want to limit these motions to just right where you feel the stretch. Don't overdo any of them. Just the very first sign of a light stretch is all we need. Hold it briefly on the last side. As you come out of it, take a nice deep breath. Give yourself a little mental pat on the back. Good job.